About the law of sines. It's a little bit more involved than cosines because you have what's known as the ambiguous case, which means that you can potentially have no triangle that fits the sides and angles given to you. You can have one triangle or you can have two. So we're going to talk about that today, as well as you have more situations where you'll have to use the law of sines to find a side or an angle. So the law of sines is used to solve for missing sides and angles of a triangle in these particular situations. For law of cosines, it was side, 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 and side, angle, side. However, we use the law of sines if we were given angle, 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 or side, side, angle. These are the situations where we use law of sines to find either a side or an angle. But still, when it says solve the triangle, we're still finding the missing sides and angles. Okay? So, what is the formula for the law of sines? Well, basically, it's a ratio or proportion that compares your angles and their respective sides to the other angles and their respective sides. That is what the law of sines is. It's a lot simpler than the law of cosines, being that clearly it's the sine of your angle over its respective side, the sine of the other angle, so on and so forth. Now, you're not going to use all three ratios at the same time. You're only going to use two to help you find your missing pieces, okay? So say you're given angle A and side A, and you're given side B, well, then you'll use this part of the formula to find angle B first. That would make the most sense, okay? And then so on and so forth. Any questions so far? Okay. Well, let's go right into an example. This triangle, this is an example of side angle, angle, okay? We have angle A, we have side A, and we have angle B, so it'll probably be in our best interest to find what next? Side B, okay? So we'll use this part of the formula to find exactly that, and we plug in. So angle A is 40, so it's going to be the sine of 40 over 4, because that is what little a is, equals the sine of 60, because that's what angle B is, over little b. And that's what we're looking for. Now this is a proportion. Do you guys remember what you do to solve a proportion? Cross multiply, very good. So I'm going to multiply sine 40 by b, and I'm going to multiply 4 by the sine of 60. So this is going to give me 4 sine 60 equals b times the sine of 40. What would I need to do to solve for b? Divide by the sine of 40 degrees. Okay, because that 40 is attached with the sine. You can't just take 40, you got to take the sine with it. So these will cancel out, and then this is what you type into your calculator to find side B.
5.39. That's right it up.
Can I get confirmation?
Yes.
Good stuff. Okay? Is that all right? Now I will say this. If you're writing big, you might want to make it a little smaller, okay? So I want to make sure you have enough space to fit everything in.
So not going to assume we're going to do sine B over B equals sine C over C minus C.
Well, what I would say is this. Well, first of all, we got to figure out what angle C is first. Yep, you got to add these two angles together and subtract it from what number? 180. So 60 plus 40 is?
No.
So you subtract them. And angle C is 80. Yes, there's 180 degrees in the triangle, so we can find angle C just as easy. Now to find side C, what I would say to do is I would use what you're given. Because heaven forbid you find side B to be wrong. Then you have no chance of getting side C correct. You know what I mean?
So you use sine
So you're doing sine A and sine C.
So I would use sine A, that part, and then sine C. Because in that way, at least you give yourself a fighting chance to, just in case you might have gotten side B wrong. Okay? So we'll set it up. Sine of 40 over
Four.
4 equals sine
8.
80 over C. So we use the first part and the last part of that proportion. And then, what do we do?
Cross multiply.
Cross.
Divide.
Multiply. So you'll have C sine 40 equals 4 sine 80.
Divide by sine 40.
Divide by the sine of 40. So we type this into our calculator.
You get 6.13 rounded up.
6.13 about. Did you guys get that? Very good. So little c is about 6.13. And that's the law of sines with the situation of side angle angle. Okay? The next situation. This one is an angle side angle. Okay? So we have angle A, we have angle B, which means we probably could find angle C too, right? Add them up. That's what, 50?
35. 130.
130. So angle C is 130. And if you look, the side we were given was across from that angle, so we needed to figure out what that was. Because in order to figure out side A or side B, we were going to need to know C first.
Okay.
Okay? So now we can set up, which one do you want to find first?
B.
B? Okay. So Isaac, set it up for me.
Sine 15 over B
Sine 15 over B
equals sine 130 over 5.
equals sine of 130 over 5. How do I solve?
Cross just one side is going to be 5 sine 15.
One side's going to be 5 sine 15.
The other side will be B sine 130.
The other side will be B sine 130.
And when you divide both sides by sine 130,
Divide both sides by the sine of 130.
you get a certain number that I don't have.
We get a number that we got to type into our calculator.
I was too busy telling you this.
It's all right. Your classmates like got your back.
2.59. That's right.
2.59.
Yes.
Confirmation.
5 sine 15. Divide
1.69.
Oh wait, hold on. I did something wrong.
1.69.
Yeah, 1.69
1.69
for the win.
for the win. Right.
I forgot the one and
Alright, I'll do it. I want to set up there.
All right. I now want you guys to find A. Okay. Take a minute to find A. Little A. Okay. So we can set it up as the sine of 130 over 5 equals the sine of 35 over little a, which is right here across from angle A. All right, and it doesn't matter if you put sine 35 over a first, because when you cross multiply, you get the same thing. So when we do, you should have had 5 sine 35 equals a sine 130, and then what do I need to do? Divide by the sine of 130, because those cancel out. And so you guys said you got what again? 3.74. Okay. Very good. Questions. Find the sides and angles using with angle side angle given to you. You guys doing okay so far? Okay. So let's visit this problem in your homework before we keep going. Okay? Let's visit this problem that was in your homework because I asked you to draw the diagram.
I don't even know what it is.
Okay? Let's see if you guys drew your picture accurately. It says a bearing from South Bay Lighthouse to Steep Rock Lighthouse 25 miles away is north 28 degrees east. So you needed to start it with your South Bay Lighthouse. Okay? And if I went north 28 degrees east to Steep Rock, which was 25 miles away, you should have had 28 degrees right here to start out with. Then it says a small boat in distress is spotted off the coast by each lighthouse, has a bearing of 50 degrees north of, a bearing of north 50 degrees west from South Bay. So north 50 degrees west from South Bay, and south degrees west from Steep Rock. Okay? So here's your boat that's in distress, and this angle from Steep Rock, south degrees west, should be 80. How far from each tower? How far is each tower from the boat? That's what it says. So, this is how your picture should have been set up. Now realize that this angle inside the triangle, that's not 80 degrees. It's not at 80 degrees, okay? We have to figure out what angle that it actually is. Now, is it 10? No, it's not 10. It's not 90 minus 80. Quick question. South and north, right? I went north from South Bay, and I went south from Steep Rock. Say it again?
Parallel?
Those lines are parallel. Think back to geometry. What kind of angles are formed with parallel lines? There was a consecutive equation. There was corresponding. There was also alternate interior angles. So, and alternate interior angles were what? The same. So if this was 28, this angle right here, that's part of that 80 degrees, is 28. So we would have to subtract 80, or subtract 28 from 80 to get 52, which is the angle inside of our triangle.
I should just do that number out there and got it right.
So, inside of our triangle, let me redraw this because it looks kind of messy. We have South Bay, we have Steep Rock, and we have our boat. So at South Rock, or Steep Rock, this angle is 52 degrees, and at South Bay, this angle is 78 degrees. So what angle is at the boat?
Let's see. What angle?
Uh-huh,
Degrees?
50 degrees. We know from South Bay to Steep Rock is 25. I want you guys to figure out how far is the boat from Steep Rock and how far the boat is from South Bay. I have to use law of sines here. We just did practice with this, okay? So set up our proportion. All right, so how'd you guys set it up?
We set it up in many ways.
Okay, well, give me one way. Sine of, which one did, which,
I did sine 50.
Sine 50
Over 25.
over 25 equals
Yeah.
sine 78
Over.
C, A, B,
Well,
X. Doesn't really matter, okay? We just wanna make sure
I use.
that the angle we're using is across from the side we wanna find. So we cross multiply and divide.
Divide by that sine video.
Divide by the sine 50. And so what did you guys get for this length? From the boat to Steep Rock?
31.
9.2, and these were in miles.
Thunder was on.
I keep forgetting.
Thunder was on. Thunder was
Then to find the distance from the boat to South Bay,
on. Sine 50 over 25.
sine 50 over 25 equals
Sine 52 over R.
sine 52 over B, R,
T.
T.
Yes.
Doesn't matter. Why? Doesn't really matter. So make sure you use the right side, cross multiply again,
Use W next time.
Do you swear?
and so,
the units?
that's only for area.
Okay.
And then divide by the sine of 50,
B equals.
what'd you guys get?
T.
25.72.
72?
Yeah.
72?
T.
So 25.72 miles is the distance from the boat to South Bay.
Now don't tell me you want us to find the area.
No.